So, with the Ant-Man prelude and the history of Scott Lang, Marvel doesn't give us a whole backstory. That is to say, they don't tell us the childhood of Scott Lang. They don't tell us his teenage years or his high school years. Instead, they just really kind of jump into it. The way the story starts off, Scott Lang is basically in jail. He's in prison, and it seems as though he's already been busted for a criminal act. And so what he does is he takes us on this kind of backstory in terms of why it was he was put into the circumstance, why it is he's in jail in the first place. And what Marvel tells us here is that Scott Lang had previously worked for a company called Vista Corporation. And what Vista Corporation was doing is they were basically using a computer algorithm to skim money off the top or to overcharge their customers, meaning that if a good cost $5, they charge their customers $5 and 0.01 cents or something like that, a fraction of a cent. But over time, these numbers would build up. And the result was that the money, the extra money that was being overbilled, was being taken by some of the top bigwigs and it was being spread around. They were using it for their own personal gain. And so when Scott Lang had learned about this, he had basically cut the algorithm. But the problem here was that the CEO, who was one of the people that was making money off of this scam, told him to set it back. And so in response to the fact that the company was doing something illegal, what Scott Lang basically did is he went to Human Resources, and he was basically a whistleblower. He told Human Resources what it was that was going on. He told them that the company was skimming money, but as it appears to us, or at least the indication seems to be, that either the company itself had basically shut out Scott Lang, regardless of the intentions of Human Resources to actually right this wrong, or it seems to be the case that Human Resources was in on the act. But regardless, Scott Lang is basically fired, and his name is smeared through the tabloids. He's basically lost his credibility. And so the problem here for Scott Lang is that he has a daughter, Cassie, and he's also married. And so he wants to basically provide for his family, to be able to give them the kind of, the kind of foundation they need in order to live a satisfying life. But the other half of this is that he wants to get back at this company that's stealing people, or stealing from people. And what seems to happen here is his wife seems to give us this indication of what it was that he used to engage in before all of this started, in the sense that he was a criminal prior to getting a legitimate job with Vista Corporation, but that his criminal lifestyle seemed to be stealing from crooks, a Robin Hood, so to speak, where he was stealing from the rich and giving back to the poor. And so the deal that had been struck between the two of them was that once Cassie, the daughter of Scott Lang, came into the world, the Scott Lang would leave all of that behind. But for Scott Lang, this is something just too big to ignore. It really just seems impossible for him to walk away from it. And so what he does is he basically devises this plan. And the plan that he has comes in a couple stages. The first stage is to go to Vista Corporation itself and actually take all the money that's being transferred to the top members of the company, to those who were skimming from the company, and to basically transfer all that money back to the people they overbilled. The second thing was to basically travel to the actual home of his CEO and to essentially trash the place. And as Scott Lang tells us, this is where he made his mistake. That rather than simply just stealing the jewels of the CEO's wife, rather than simply just doing a little bit of damage here and there, that he got whelmed up. He was overwhelmed. He got caught up in the situation. And the result was that he was arrested by the police and he was taken to jail, which gave us his current situation. Now, again, this is a prelude. This is a lead up to how the film is initially just going to kick off. And so the problem here is that while we don't really know anything other than this, what we can presume is that when the film begins, this is where it'll start, with him being in a fight in prison and just kind of going forward from there. With that being said, I know this is a short video, but Marvel's really kind of skims it when they give us these prelude videos. They don't go very in-depth here. They just kind of present us a handful of information and just sort of go from there. So with that being said, I will catch you guys later. Peace.